Penn State wound up with a pretty favorable Big Ten schedule in 2024. So how about 2025? Does it get tougher? Does it get easier? We're going to break it all down for you. So we'll start with the schedule here. And the first thing that jumps out to me is the non-conference. I mean, they just do not play a difficult opponent in the non-conference. You've got Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. So they do not play a Power 4 team. I'm not sure if maybe they had a game scheduled. I know sometimes we've seen this with the conference realignment where they teams have a game scheduled, then that team winds up joining the conference, whatever the case may be. I don't know if they ever had a Power 4 opponent scheduled for this year, but they will not play one in 2025. So no Power 4 opponents for Penn State. So you start off with an easy schedule in the non-conference. How about if we split it up home and away? You look at their home schedule in the Big Ten: Oregon, Northwestern, Indiana, and Nebraska. So Oregon, Indiana, Nebraska could be pretty good teams this year. I think Oregon for sure will be. And then you look at the road schedule. Got to go out west to UCLA, at Iowa, at Ohio State, at Michigan State, at Rutgers. I'd look at that UCLA game, traveling out west. That could be a bit of a challenge. Iowa's a tough place to play. Of course, Ohio State's going to be a difficult game. You wonder about Michigan State. Could they be much improved this year? And Rutgers, how good will they be? That is I would say, a fairly difficult road schedule. And they do play what most people would probably say are the top two teams in the Big Ten this year. And Ohio State and Oregon. Again, not counting Penn State. Maybe Michigan's in that conversation as well. Again, it's early. Who knows? But that's the home and away. How about the changes in the schedule? So they remove Illinois, Wisconsin, Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, Maryland, and USC. So you look at who they lose. You like seeing Illinois off the schedule, but the rest of these teams really not great. So they didn't really subtract a whole lot of difficult games there. And they add Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, Nebraska, Northwestern, Oregon, and Rutgers. So this is going to be a more difficult schedule in the conference. Again, I think your place, Indiana and Iowa, pretty even teams probably. But then you add Oregon. That's the big difference. They're still going to have to play Ohio State. So yeah, this is going to be a fairly difficult Big Ten schedule. Let's see how it stacks up with the rest of the teams in the Big Ten. And then we'll go back to the schedule. So it's actually the fourth toughest conference schedule in terms of records from last year. So this is based on the conference records from last season. And you can see a 56% win percentage for Penn State's opponents, their conference opponents in 2025. That's what they did last season. So they are playing one of the more difficult schedules in the Big Ten. And that's coming off of one of the easier schedules last year. So a little bit more of a challenge in the conference. But I think it sets up okay for Penn State. And again, you've got a very easy non-conference schedule. So let's go to the full schedule here. You've got Nevada on August 30th. Then they'll play FIU on September 6th. Then they play Villanova on September 13th. So you see, again, 3 should be easy wins there right off the bat. And then you got a bye week. So a very early bye week. Not an ideal spot. I mean, they're going to get a bye week before they even play, anyone, really. And it's nice that it's before the Oregon game. So that is a benefit, having the bye week before playing Oregon. But you'd like to have, one of these other games, like an Iowa or UCLA, maybe before that bye week. No, they'll play 3 non-conference cupcakes, basically. And then they get the bye week. Oregon will be a huge game on September 27th. That might be I would say it's one of the top 3 games in the Big Ten in 2025, looking at the schedules right now. So that's going to be a massive game. They get UCLA on the road October 4th. That could be a tricky game. So you have a huge game against Oregon. Then you have to travel out west. And we saw the records when teams traveled across multiple time zones last season. It was a factor, no doubt about it. So that could be a very tricky game. And the season could really kind of spiral out of control if they were to lose to Oregon and then lose to UCLA. So those are going to be 2 huge games. Then you get Northwestern back home on October 11th. Then it's a road trip to Iowa. So to me, that stretch right there is going to really tell us about Penn State. We're going to find out, is this team a legit contender again, or is the schedule going to be a little bit too much for them? Maybe they've already got a couple of losses with some tough games remaining. If they can finish undefeated though through that stretch and get to 7-0 going into their second bye week, you feel really good about Penn State getting back to that Big Ten championship. But after that second bye week, they're probably their toughest game of the season because it's on the road. That's Ohio State, November 1st. So a very tough matchup there. Then it's at home against Indiana. Hard to say right now how good this Indiana team will be. I don't think they're going to be quite as good, but Kurt Cignetti has proven that he's a winner. So that could be a good Indiana team. And then you got Michigan State on the road, a team that could be much improved this year as well. Nebraska at home on November 22nd, and they close things out with Rutgers on November 29th. So that is a pretty tough stretch there. 3 road games in their final 5 games, a tough Indiana, a tough Nebraska team there. This is actually a pretty tough schedule. I know you look at the non-conference and you say, this is look at that non-conference. This is an easy schedule. But like I showed you, this is one of the tougher Big Ten conference schedules. And I'm also, I'm looking at, if we go back and look at those win percentages from last year, Michigan State and Nebraska weren't great, but I think those teams have a chance to be improved this year. And again, you've got the UCLA going out west after playing Oregon at home. So yeah, this is going to be, I think, one of the tougher, if not the toughest, Big Ten schedules in 2025.